Hi, welcome to Coach Barnabas. I'm Corey, and I appreciate you joining me today. Um, this episode is going to be one where I hope you find this encouraging. I was thinking about, as I record this, is Mother's Day. It's a beautiful day, as you can see here in southern New England, northern Rhode Island. But I've been thinking about it. Mother's Day. Thinking about my parents, both of whom have passed on and are with the Lord. My mom, it's been about 16 years now. It was 2009 since I've been without her. But I can't help but think of them, think of their legacy, think of their lives. Think about them all the time, obviously. But there's days like today where it's pretty obvious, and it's a lot of time of reflection and thinking and all that. But I've been giving this some thought for probably a couple of weeks now, and I wanted to just share something with you. I thought it is profound, and I find it encouraging in my own life, and hopefully it'll be encouraging to yours as well. And in preparation for it, I've been thinking, even asked my wife, thinking of biblical examples, stories, examples of where God was preparing a situation long in advance of the moment where it really came to fruition. And I was thinking of examples of like Moses, all right, how his life was spared as an infant. And then one day, many years later, he would be the one to lead the Israelites out of bondage, out of Egypt, and lead them to the promised land. Not actually, he wouldn't be able to cross over, but he was able to get them right on the cusp of the promised land. So I thought that was a great example. I thought of David, how God saw in this young shepherd boy, how he saw greatness in him. He saw that one day he would be king, and through his lineage would eventually come Jesus. I thought of just a number of different examples of how God planned things way in advance. And I asked my wife, I said, can you think of a story where, just how God was preparing something way in advance? She goes, Jesus dying on the cross and everything that led up to that and everything came after that. It's like, well, yeah. So she went straight for the obvious. It's like, I wasn't even thinking about that. Yes, that absolutely qualifies. The whole Bible is about Jesus, including the Old Testament, even though Jesus isn't introduced physically and specifically until the New Testament, obviously. The whole Old Testament is, prologue, the past is prologue. So it all set up, the whole purpose of Jesus. And so that was a great example my wife came up with. It was almost like, duh, why didn't I think of that? But I was thinking of these other examples as well. And the point is this, going back to my parents married, it was in the 60s, and it was a good, close to 20 years, thereabout, better part of 20 years, a couple of decades, before they would one day become Christians. And a funny thing about my parents is that my mom was fluent. She spoke fluent Spanish. My dad, on the other hand, couldn't go to Taco Bell and order correctly or accurately. He'd butcher, just ordering something off the menu at Taco Bell. Spanish was not his thing. He sometimes butchered English at times, although that's his only language. That was his only language. We kind of joke about that. He would mispronounce words all the time. So, it was kind of an odd coupling from that standpoint. And it didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't serve any purpose. It was just kind of one of those things. And, okay. Now, again, almost 20 years later, they became Christians. And it was almost another 20 years after that, maybe 15 years or so after that, when they started getting involved with an orphanage in Mexico. They ended up becoming board members for an orphanage in Mexico. They were down there frequently. They ended up buying an RV because they were going down there, and they'd spend a week or 2 weeks on the property of the orphanage. They'd stay in their RV. And this started kind of coming in handy where my mom could translate. And eventually, some years after that, my parents felt the call of God to sell everything and move from California, from the United States, and start a ministry in Costa Rica. Again, Spanish-speaking country. And how God used their partnership in a profound way. Not just the fact that my mom's spoke Spanish, but that's kind of what I'm leading to. But how, God used them together. My dad couldn't have done it on his own. He even went to language school while he was in Costa Rica, but he still couldn't speak Spanish. He might know words, but he was terrible at it. But it was cute, it was fun. But my mom was able, so he would speak, he would teach, preach, and mom would stand by his side and translate for him. And it was a tremendous partnership. And it wasn't just that, it was their giftings as well. How God used them together. But my point is this, is that decades before they were even Christians, and even more decades before they would be in ministry like this, God knew what he was doing. And he prepared this couple 30 some odd years before it would be necessary. He put together this couple, this guy who couldn't order at a Mexican restaurant, and a woman who spoke Spanish fluently, put them together and would one day use those combined skills and gifts and anointing that God had birthed in them on top of their natural gifts, and use them in powerful and profound ways. And it just, it was a profound thing for me to observe and look back on. The past couple episodes, I've talked about how we look back and understand, we can look back and see how it all makes sense to me now. But in the process, in the actual living of life, which must be done forward, we understand it backwards, but moving forward as we're going in its natural progression, we don't see, God's playing chess. He's playing the long game. He's several moves out ahead of us because he knows the end from the beginning. He is not bound by time. We're in the moment, and we don't see what he has for us 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line. What we think our plan is, he has even bigger plans, and he knows. Maybe, whatever, I'm not even going to go into theories or possibilities or maybe this, maybe that, because you know your situation, and you know what station you are in your life. How God may just be using something that happened decades ago for his purpose, for his glory, even now, or maybe it's still yet to come. And I've just found, like, you DIY people like to take things and it's called repurpose them. Take something that was once used for this purpose, and then you find a way to turn, an old wine barrel into a desk or a table or something like that, and repurpose it. Well, God doesn't repurpose things, although I think you could probably make an argument for that, but I think it was his purpose all along. And he doesn't take something, nothing's wasted by him. He just has a plan all along, and what we think is, well, I used it for this, and God doesn't repurpose it, is he gives a definition. This was its purpose all along. I was just letting you develop it in this certain way. Now we're going to reposition it. We're going to point it in the right direction and use it for God's purpose. It's not repurposing, it's actually giving it the purpose it was intended for. And so I go back to that saying, the past is prologue. Whatever you've been through, it could be something that was a difficult season for you, a difficult experience, but nothing is wasted with God. Even the difficult experiences from our past could be used for his glory. For example, a couple of months back, actually right about the first of the year, a friend of mine, I'm speaking to you again from our church property, a dear friend of ours from the church passed away. Suddenly, unexpectedly, didn't see it coming, and he was gone. And it was maybe a couple, 3 weeks after that, and we saw his wife at church, And obviously she's very emotional. It was very difficult for her, coming to church without him. And people were rallying around her and showing their love and hugging on her and just offering support and everything. And as we walked out to our car in the parking lot, she was met by another lady from our church who a year earlier had lost her husband, who had been sick with cancer for a number of years, over a decade. And it was just about a year, maybe 9-10 months earlier, she had lost her husband. And I was parked basically nose to nose with one of these two ladies. So by the time we got out to our car, these two, the widow of just short of a year and the widow of a couple of weeks, having a conversation together. And you don't need to be a genius or a fly on the wall to guess probably the topic of that conversation. Somebody who is still, dealing with some fresh wounds of their own, who's navigating this new life, with somebody who's just trying to figure it out, still trying to get used to coming to church on Sunday without her husband. So being able to use something that was obviously very heartbreaking and tragic and everything, and being an extension of God's arms around this person who is now facing this afresh. And so God takes even difficult circumstances from our lives and gives it a new purpose to minister to somebody else who may be going through exactly what we went through some time ago. And because we've been down that road, maybe we've even made mistakes. Hey, don't fall into the same traps I fell into. Don't make the mistakes I made. Or this is what God did for me, and I want you to benefit from how God walked me through this period. Either way, there's something powerful about connecting with somebody who's been where you are, or being on the flip side, helping somebody navigate something who's now going through where you've already been. And so I just want to share that with you. And you can look back on anything in your life and find somebody who is right now going through something you've already been through. Or maybe the script is flipped a little bit. You are now going through something, you feel completely alone, and you need to find somebody who has already been and navigated what you're having to face right now. And so pray and just say, God, bring somebody into my life who can help guide me through this. But even if he doesn't bring somebody tangibly, physically into your life, maybe he will, but maybe that his plan is a month from now, 6 months from now. Right now, he wants you to really rely on him and trust him. Okay? And that should be our number one go-to at any given time, is to just connect with him and say, Lord, just help me through this. And when I'm ready, bring somebody into my life who can help mentor me and encourage me and guide me and connect with me and help me through this. Use me to help somebody else. Take this period of my life that broke me or hurt me or tried to break me, and God, you wouldn't allow it, and help me walk somebody else through it. Help me mentor somebody else. Help me, allow me to introduce somebody to you and what you've done for me, that you offer to them as well. It could be wonderful things. It could be difficult things. But I guarantee you that you're not going through anything today. You've not gone through anything in the past. Your future doesn't hold anything for you that somebody hasn't already gone through. I guarantee it. There's just nothing that you have gone through, are going through, or will go through that somebody else hasn't endured. Okay? And there's nothing you have gone through that somebody today, somebody's going through it right now. Whatever it is you've already been through. And so pray that God takes those things and allows you to make a ministry out of it. Find somebody, ask him to just cross your paths with somebody who needs a voice of wisdom, a voice of experience, a voice that will lead them to the heart of the Father. And God's faithful to do that. So that's my word for you today. I just want you to be encouraged, and in turn be an encourager. That's what this is all about. Be encouraged, be an encourager. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to talking to you again very, very soon. Take care.
Thank you for joining the Coach Barnabas podcast. We'd greatly appreciate your support by liking and subscribing to the podcast and setting up notifications so we can let you know when new episodes are available. We'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment. Make a difference today.